They thought I'd save them again after they betrayed me, so I watched them lose everything instead. Hi, I'm Alejandro, 28, and the day I found out my parents spent what they thought was all my savings to buy my sister a house then kicked me out, I didn't get angry. I laughed hard. Because they didn't know they just failed the most expensive loyalty test I'd ever set. Let me paint you the full picture. I live in a rented 3-bedroom house with my parents, Alberto and Rosa, and my younger sister, Valeria. They're 55 and 52, and she's 25. Jobless with a shiny business degree that's gathered more dust than our bookshelf. Meanwhile, I've been paying for everything since I turned 23. Rent, utilities, groceries, you name it. I told them I was a sales assistant barely scraping by. They had no idea. I'm actually a regional manager pulling in 6 figures a year. Why the secrecy? Simple. I needed to know if they saw me as family, or as an at M.so. I tested them. I opened a new debit account, put $10,000 in it, and handed my dad the card during dinner. It's all my savings, I lied. Use it only for the house bills. I watched their eyes light up like I'd gifted them gold bars, just for household expenses, right? I repeated. Of course, Dad said, beaming. You can trust us, Valeria added, smirking like she just won the lottery. For 2 months, things seemed normal. Rent was paid, food bought, bills covered. I started to think I was the paranoid one. Then month 3 hit. Suddenly, I saw withdrawals like $800 at a luxury boutique, a $500 charge at a steakhouse. My sister posted an Instagram story with the caption, "Soft life, only," while eating crab legs and heels that cost more than my rent. By month 5, the balance had dropped by half. My savings were disappearing faster than my respect for them, and then came Sunday. I walked into the living room to find them all grinning like they'd won the lottery. Alejandra said, "We have great news." Valeria squealed. "We bought a house." I blinked. "You what?" For Valeria, Dad said proudly. "It's time she had her own place. With your savings," Mom added. "We used $4,750 for the down payment. It's in a rough neighborhood, sure, but it's a start." I felt my heart freeze. "And the rest of the money?" I asked. "Spent," Valeria said casually. "But come on, you should be happy for," Mom chimed in. "We're all moving in with her. It'll be great. Except, well, the house only has 3 bedrooms, and since she owns it now, we thought it was time you got your own place. Independence, you know? And don't forget to keep sending the money," Dad added. "We'll need help with the mortgage now too." That's when I laughed. I laughed so hard I had to hold on to the wall, because I knew something they didn't. I had over $1 million tucked away in investments and savings. That $10,000? A decoy, a test, and they just failed with flying colors. They stared at me like I'd lost my mind. "What's so funny?" Valeria snapped. "You're broke. You don't have a penny left, and we're kicking you out. That's what's hilarious," I said, wiping tears of laughter from my eyes. "You really think that $10,000 was all I had?" Their smiles faltered. "I told you it was my entire savings," I said. "But it was a test. That 10 grand? That was 1% of what I actually have." My mom's voice dropped to a whisper. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I have over $1 million in savings and investments." I let that hang in the air. "And none of it is for you." My dad's face turned pale. Valeria's jaw dropped. My mom's hands trembled on the couch cushion. "Not a sales assistant. I'm a regional manager. I make more in a month than you assumed I made in a year." The silence was beautiful. "Everything you just did," I continued, "was based on the idea that you had drained me dry. You celebrated, mocked me, kicked me out. You did all that believing you left me with nothing." Valeria tried to backpedal. "I didn't mean what I said. You meant every word," I said coldly. "You just didn't expect consequences. You can't just leave," my mom whispered. "You're our son." "No," I cut in. "I was your provider. That's what I was to you. But not anymore." I stood up and headed toward the hallway. "I already bought my place. A penthouse, 2 bedrooms. Paid in cash last week." My dad's eyes widened. My mom looked like she might faint. Valeria shot up from the couch. "Wait, how will we pay the mortgage? I thought you'd help." Why would I? I asked. You said you didn't need me. The payments are $1,200. She shrieked. I don't have a job. Maybe you should have thought of that before laughing in my face. You're a terrible brother, she said, trembling. And you're a sister who never worked a day in her life, but thought she deserved a house. Funny how that works. I packed my bags and left that same night. By morning, I was sipping coffee on the balcony of my penthouse. Alone, free, and for the first time in years, happy. The peace didn't last long. 1 week into my new life, I started getting the calls. First, it was my mom. Alejandro, please. We're sorry. We didn't mean it. Things got out of hand. Come visit. Let's talk. I blocked her number. Then my dad called from a different line. Son, we need your help. The mortgage is due. We can't cover it. Just this once. Blocked. Valeria tried everything: texts, emails, burner numbers, even showed up at my building once. Security sent her packing, but then came the call. I answered, curious to hear what she'd say. When she finally got through, her voice was shaking. Alejandro, please. The mortgage is due in 3 days. We don't have it. We'll lose the house. Just this once. Please help me. I leaned back on my sofa. Let her speak. You bought a house with money that wasn't yours, I said calmly. And then you kicked me out. Remember that? It wasn't like that. She cried. We thought you'd help. You always help. I almost laughed again. I helped because I chose to. You thought you deserved it. That's the difference. If we don't pay, the bank will foreclose. Not my problem. You're heartless. She snapped. You're selfish. You're confused, I said. Selfish is using your brother's money to buy yourself a house, then kicking him out. She screamed and hung up. That was the last time I spoke to her. A month later, my cousin Miguel called. He still talks to everyone. Just thought you should know they lost the house. The bank foreclosed last week. I took a sip of coffee. They're living in a $400 a month room now. All 3 of them. 1 room, shared bathroom. It's bad, Alejandro. I nodded. They made their choices. They're your family, Miguel said. No, replied. Family doesn't treat you like an ATM. They made it clear the moment they thought I was broke. He didn't argue. Now, months later, I live in peace. I travel. I invest. I enjoy my life. Sometimes I hear whispers my mom works double shifts. My dad picked up night cleaning. And Valeria? She's a cashier. That house she laughed about? Gone. Do I feel bad? Sometimes. But then I remember her voice. You don't have a penny left. And the guilt fades like smoke in the wind. They gambled me away. And lost. I thought that was it. That I'd closed the door, locked it, and thrown away the key. But life, especially when family's involved, has a way of jiggling that handle one more time. It was a quiet Tuesday afternoon. I was in my office reviewing quarterly sales reports when my assistant knocked gently. Mr. Delgado? There are 3 people in reception. They say they're your family. They're not leaving. Froze. No way. Stood up, peeked at the lobby camera, and yep, there they were. My mother, Rosa, looking thin and exhausted. My father, Alberto, arms crossed like he still ran the world. And Valeria wearing a wrinkled supermarket uniform and sneakers that looked 2 jobs past done. Carolina looked panicked. Should I call building security? I shook my head. Not yet. I walked down, keeping my face unreadable. They turned as I approached. Alejandro. My mom cried, rushing forward with tears in her eyes. Please talk to us. You have 2 minutes, I said, crossing my arms. Valeria blinked. That's it? That's generous. My dad cleared his throat. We came to apologize. We were wrong. All of it. The money. The house. Kicking you out. We regret everything. Said nothing. And, he continued, eyes darting to the floor, we were hoping you'd let us stay with you. In your penthouse. I laughed. Loud enough that a receptionist turned her head. You're serious? We're desperate, my mom whispered. That room is horrible. It's 1 bed. 1 bathroom. It's dangerous. We can't live like this anymore. You kicked me out, I said slowly. You spent money you weren't supposed to touch. And now, you want to live in the place I bought after you tried to ruin me? But you have the space, Valeria muttered. 2 bedrooms. It's not like security. I turned toward the front desk. No? Alejandro, please. My mother sobbed. We're your family. My father barked. Family helps each other. I looked him dead in the eye. Family doesn't betray you the second they think you're broke. 2 guards appeared. Escort them out. And add them to the building blacklist. The last thing I saw before the elevator doors closed was my father's red face, twisted with disbelief. As if he still couldn't understand why the golden goose finally flew away. I didn't reach out. I didn't call, text, or respond to Miguel's updates. But something shifted in me after that photo. A quiet shift, like when a storm finally moves out and the wind smells different. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But curiosity. Were they really changing? Or just performing a new act for sympathy? I needed to know. So, on a gray Saturday morning, I got in my car and drove. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't bring anything. I just showed up. Their building was in a rough part of town, graffiti on the walls, an old stairwell that echoed with every step. I climbed to the 3rd floor and stood outside their door. There was no doorbell, just a peeling wooden frame and a taped-on note that read, "Please knock." Quietly, so I did. Knock. Knock. It took a moment, then I heard footsteps. The door opened, just a crack, and there she was, my mother. No makeup, wrinkled hoodie, her hair pulled back with the scrunchie. When she saw me, her mouth dropped open. Alejandro. I waited. She didn't scream, didn't cry, just stepped back and opened the door fully. "Come in, if you want." I hesitated, then stepped inside. It was small, really small. Studio layout. 1 mattress in the corner. A curtain hung from the ceiling for privacy. A card table doubled as a dining area. The air smelled like cheap detergent and overcooked rice. My dad was sitting at the table with the coffee mug in hand, looking like he hadn't slept in days. He looked up and I swear, the way his eyes widened, he looked almost afraid of me. Valeria was on the floor in the corner, folding laundry. When she saw me, she didn't say a word, just nodded once and kept folding. No one moved. No one spoke. So I broke the silence. "I'm not here to stay. I just wanted to see for myself." My dad stood slowly. "We're not asking for anything." "I know," I said. "I messed up." My mom whispered. "We all did. And we're paying for it." I looked around. "Yeah, I see that." Valeria cleared her throat. "I got promoted. I run the evening shift at the store now. Not glamorous, but it's mine." I nodded. "You don't have to forgive us," she said softly. "But I wanted you to know we're not pretending anymore. We're just trying to fix what we broke." Something about her voice, it wasn't performative. It was raw, tired, real. "I've been taking courses," she added. "I'm learning financial literacy. Stuff I should have learned years ago." "You were right about everything, Alejandro. I just didn't want to hear it." A pause. My mom sniffled. "We didn't value you. We didn't respect you. We saw your support as a given, as something we deserved. And we only saw the truth when it disappeared." My father's voice was raspy. "You were the glue and we shattered it." I looked at him. The same man who once said, "We don't need you anymore," now standing in a room with 1 fan, 1 mattress, and a second job he clearly hated. "You used me," I said, keeping my tone even. "You saw me as a solution, not a son. And when you thought I had nothing, you threw me out like trash." "I know," my mother whispered. "And if you never speak to us again, I'll understand." I exhaled slowly. "I'm not ready to forgive you." 3 heads nodded. "But I'm not angry anymore either." Their eyes rose. Unsure, I looked around one last time. I just needed to see if this was real, if you were actually owning it. Valeria stood up, finally meeting my gaze. "We are, every day. Trust me." Believed her entirely, but enough. I turned toward the door. "I'm not giving you money," I said over my shoulder. "We're not asking," my dad replied. "Just, thank you for coming." I walked out. The hallway smelled like mildew. The steps creaked on the way down, but when I stepped outside, the sunlight felt warm on my skin. Lighter, like I had set something down I didn't realize I was still carrying. 3 months later, got a letter, not a text. Not an email, an actual letter, handwritten, from Valeria. The envelope was simple, no return address, just my name in her distinct, looping cursive. Inside were 3 pages. No dramatic pleas, no guilt trips, just honesty. She talked about working night shifts and taking online classes after, about how she used to think life was something owed to her, that if she asked loud enough, someone else would always carry the weight. She wrote, "You weren't just our brother or son, you were our crutch. And the moment we thought we didn't need that crutch anymore, we kicked it away and laughed when it hit the floor. We didn't realize you were the one holding us up until we fell on our faces." She talked about my mom, how she now cleans offices during the day and babysits on weekends. About my dad, who stopped complaining for the first time in his life and just worked. About how they don't argue anymore because they're too exhausted to pretend things are anyone's fault but their own. And at the bottom of the final page, she wrote something that actually stopped me cold. "We thought losing your money was the punishment, but losing you, that was the sentence." I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just sat with it. And that night, for the first time, I dialed a number I hadn't used in nearly a year. It rang twice. Then I heard my mom's voice, soft and careful. "Hello?" "Hey," I said. There was silence. Then a gasp. Then tears. "I'm not calling to go back," I said gently. "I'm just checking in." That call lasted 20 minutes. She told me they were saving up for a tiny place outside the city, that Valeria had passed her first certification exam, that my dad had started reading books on budgeting. I didn't offer to help. They didn't ask, and that was the most healing part of all. Over the next few weeks, we started exchanging occasional texts, birthday wishes, updates, a meme here and there, still distant, but not strangers. Boundaries firmly in place. No requests. No emotional leverage. Just small steps on the tightrope between hurt and healing. And me? I traveled to Portugal, stood on a cliff in Nazar, and watched a man ride a 60-foot wave like it was nothing. Took a breath so deep I thought my ribs would crack, and I smiled, because I was no longer the son they could use. I was no longer the silent supporter holding up a broken house. I was Alejandro Delgado, a man who walked away when no one thought he had the strength, and didn't look back until the mirror showed something real again. I still live in the penthouse, still work hard, still enjoy the silence, but now, it's not a silence made of loneliness. It's one I chose. Sometimes people ask me if I'll ever fully forgive them. I tell them maybe one day. Forgiveness isn't a key you turn. It's a door you build slowly, brick by brick, and if they keep doing the work, I might open it. But even if I never do, I know who I am now, and I am not their bank. I am not their lifeline. I am not their fallback plan. I am free, and I earned that freedom the moment I stopped begging to be valued and chose to value myself. I wasn't planning to go. The family barbecue, the first one they'd organized since everything. Miguel texted me the invite with a shrug emoji and a "no pressure, bro." I stared at it for a full day before replying, maybe, and then, on the day of, I found myself driving there. No intention of staying long. Just wanted to see for myself if the change I glimpsed months ago had lasted, or if it had all been another performance. The house was small, modest, rented. Backyard barely big enough for a grill and a few foldable chairs. But it smelled like grilled carne asada and warm tortillas. And someone was playing old Luis Miguel songs from a Bluetooth speaker with questionable bass. It felt human, imperfect, real. When I stepped through the gate, everything stopped for a second. My dad saw me first. He stood frozen, spatula in one hand, as if I'd materialized from thin air. Then Valeria looked up from a folding table where she was helping 2 little cousins with juice boxes. Her mouth opened slightly, but she didn't say a word. And then my mom, apron on, face flushed from the sun, stepped forward. She didn't run. She didn't cry. She just reached out and touched my arm. "Thank you for coming," she said. Her voice was steady, no expectation behind it, just gratitude. "I wasn't sure I would," I replied. "I wasn't sure you should," she said quietly. That made me smile. Valeria approached next, clutching a bowl of chips like a peace offering. There's no penthouse cheese platter, she said with a weak laugh. But we got guac. You make it? Yeah, she said. More serious now. No stolen money involved. We both laughed soft, awkward, but real. I stayed an hour. Long enough for a burger, for a hug from Miguel, for a quiet chat with my dad about soccer and how he finally beat Candy Crush. Not long enough for deep talks, not long enough for tears, but long enough to realize that healing doesn't always come in a dramatic monologue or a big movie ending. Sometimes, it's just sharing chips in a folding chair on a Sunday afternoon, and realizing nobody's asking you for anything except maybe a second helping of guac. I left before sunset. As I walked out, Valeria called after me. Alejandro. I turned. She smiled, not the smug, entitled smile I used to know. A different one, a smaller one. If you ever want to come back, even just to visit. The door's open, I nodded, and for the first time in years, I believed her.